can go ahead and make the move permanent for about 15 to 20 million euros.
He's a young player, and he's a young player.
He might be more successful than he did in the last couple seasons.
He didn't perform too well with Chelsea. I think he rode the back on a pretty lucky team that had a lucky chance.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Linners and Wosers episode. This is a great episode tonight. I am back joined with the fellas. I'm going to go ahead and put them on the screen here in a second. And today we're just going to go ahead and chat some footy, some transfer news, play some games here. And we have a lot to talk about here. Even the Jose Mourinho sacking that just happened, the Jordan Henderson to Ajax that was just announced pretty minutes ago. But I want to go ahead and thank all of our listeners, our viewers, for joining us here today and to give us all of that support this 2024 year. As we started, you can go ahead and see that we have set out a lot more videos and content throughout all of our platforms here. But joining me today, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guests. Good friend Nick Rosser, Ivan, and Adam joining us again for another footy discussion, World Footy, play some games, and it's going to be a long episode, guys, so buckle in. I gave no time for the intro just so we can go ahead and dive in and chit-chat right away. How you guys doing?
Good. Excited.
Yeah, excited to be here.
You guys sound so excited.
A little tired, a little groggy today.
Yeah, it's one of those days just pulling through. We've done so many episodes this year, guys, so many YouTube videos. I was just telling Nick the other day, we did one 2 days ago. No, excuse me. One posted yesterday, one posted this morning, one 2 days ago, one 7 days ago, another 11 days ago, and 3 weeks ago. So this year we're really popping off on the videos. So really excited to have everyone back here, play some games. We got some tic-tac-toe and guess the footballer later, but want to pick your brains here and get some of your knowledge, some of your reactions, some of your thoughts, your opinions, and some of these transfer news that recently happened. We'll go ahead and recap Tottenham's 2 pickups in Timo Werner and Radu Draguzin. We'll definitely go ahead and talk about U.S. men's national team player Cade Cowell making the move to Guadalajara or Chivas. Some other big moves for the Colorado Rapids this offseason that we'll go ahead and chit-chat for a little bit, picking up some U.S. men's national team players as well. They're not done looking in the market. FC Cincinnati also picking up U.S. men's national team player Miles Robinson and some other transfers, but we'll also go ahead and have predictions and discussion in depth of all of the top 5 leagues in Europe, from the Premier League to League One. And then, of course, end it off here with some Champions League discussion, guys. Just some sprinkles, some frosting on the cake. I know we already had an in-depth discussion last time. Just revisit our thoughts, our predictions on that, okay?
Perfect.
Cool.
Perfect.
Works for me.
All right, well, I guess without further ado, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and throw us up here our first transfer news, our reactions. Let's just go ahead and dive in and talk about Tottenham here. Really, this January, picking up 2 big players in both Timo Werner and Radu Draguzin. But let's talk about the big man on the screen right now, Timo Werner, joining Tottenham Hotspurs on loan. He's back in the Premier League after having a stint with Chelsea from July 2020, August 2022. Want to go ahead and ask everyone, what do we think about Timo Werner's move back to the Premier League and his return? Is it going to go ahead and be better than his first stint? Let me just go ahead and tell you, his first stint here with Chelsea, 89 appearances, 23 goals. He was a Champions League winner, FIFA Club World Cup winner, Super Cup winner, and then, yeah, pretty much, did I say FIFA Club World Cup winner? So definitely a winner with Chelsea here. Now he's joining Tottenham. Is he going to go ahead and have better success? How do we feel about this move?
I think on like a personal note, he'll have better success like when it comes to performance. I think the expectations are definitely a little bit down. He was scoring close to 30 goals a year at Leipzig before he went to Chelsea. Now he's going to be coming back to the Premier League after I would say, not the greatest stint back at Leipzig. Leipzig has a strong and up-and-coming team. So I definitely think performance-wise, he's going to do better, especially in the Premier League. I think he only managed 10 goals in the Premier League while he was at Chelsea, which is um, a part of Chelsea's 9 curse. Obviously, he's not any number 9 that scores. He wasn't that. But so far, I've seen him play one game for Tottenham. He doesn't look like he's that changed of a player. But just I think he could score a little more goals than he did before at Chelsea.
I certainly like it for my ultimate team. It's going to be good for my ultimate team on FIFA. But as it pertains to actual football, I don't know if it's going to work out as well as it worked out with Chelsea. I mean, if it didn't work out with Chelsea, what makes us think that it's going to work out with Tottenham? Tottenham was in dire need of a good striker, and they're certainly have it with Timo Werner. He did good with Leipzig, but as it pertains to the Premier League, it's just a different ball game. The Premier League demands a lot more physicality, which he certainly has, but we'll see. I think that he may do well with Postecoglou and the type of play style that Tottenham has, but
There
This
is
is
a option in his contract here as part of this loan deal that they can go ahead and make the move permanent for about 15 to 20 million euros. Is that a steal given the quality of the player that he is, or does he have to go ahead and reach that valuation? I think he has to give something to the Spurs team to reach that 15 to 20 million valuation.
I think that's a steal if it's like 3 seasons ago, but right now I think he still has tons to prove, and he didn't perform too well with Chelsea. I think he rode the back on a pretty lucky team that had a lucky Champions League run. That, as you've seen both Chelsea's Champions League runs, they've both been kind of filled with a little bit of luck. And I think that's probably just like his value now today. I don't think it's a steal. I just think you're probably getting face value with 10 to 15 million dollars with what Timo Werner is at his level currently.
Adam, is this a move that strengthens Tottenham for the rest of the season?
I don't think it's too bad a move for him. I know he wasn't super successful at Chelsea, but I mean, he's 27, and I still think he has some blistering pace. So, I think he might be more successful, be able to bag a couple more goals than he did in the last couple seasons. So,
Do we think, are we over or under 5? Let's go 6 Premier League goals before the season ends.
Under.
Well, I'll be the only one that rides the over. Maybe he bags 2 goals in one game here and there. So we'll go ahead and look back here to see if we can go ahead and break 6 goals in the Premier League here before the season ends his loan spell. But another player that Tottenham recently just picked up, this is coming from Serie A side Genoa. This is Radu Dragusin, center back, Romanian. A fee that could rise to up to £25 million. A very common move here for Tottenham Hotspurs in the recent years to have quality players be brought in the January transfer window. Spurs are notoriously have waited until the January window to go ahead and bring in players like Dejan Kulusevski and Rodrigo Bentancur on the final window of 2022. And then they've also secured the services of Pedro Porro most recently here at the end of last January window. So now they're bringing in Timo Werner and Radu Dragusin, a player that comes from Juventus Academy after doing some loan spells at Sampdoria and Salernitana. Then he found a season-long spell loan at Genoa in 2022 where he went ahead and made 38 appearances and also helped them fight back and get a promotion to Serie A. And then after just appearing 23 times for them this season, he gets the big move to Tottenham Hotspurs. How do we feel about this move, guys?
He's a young player, and he's a young player, and it's having that Premier League experience is going to be very beneficial for him. And we certainly know that Romero is a liability with cards in the Prem, so it's certainly a good refreshment for someone that has a future, for someone that is going to be able to give them a new perspective on defending, a new air. Someone younger, someone that can last longer in games, and hopefully not get us carded.
Yeah, this is an interesting pickup here from Gilardino's side, giving up Radu Dragusin to Tottenham Hotspurs. I just want to go ahead and see where exactly does he fit in the system when you have Christian Romero and Marky Van de Ven in the back. Is this something that Tottenham now moves to a three in the back with Porro and Udogoy being more of those left wing back, right wing back position, or is one of those two guys getting dropped? Is he sticking with the four in the back?
I think it could be just a depth tool considering his age and Tottenham's recent scouting department. They might be a potential Christian Romero might be on the market soon, so I think it's just a depth piece for now. They probably, if one of those center backs go down, they're going to probably throw him in because he is a promising young player, and just gradually join into the team because he's probably not going to be just tossed in there in a pretty competitive environment, which is Tottenham Hotspur, because they're looking to secure top four European football. So I just think right now this is like a depth piece. And like I was gonna mention earlier, like you said, Tottenham scouting department is obviously fantastic. They obviously don't put it together at the end to win a trophy, but they produce quality players all over the field. And I just think we'll have to wait and see where he fits into the Tottenham team right now, because right now I just don't see him starting, but just a depth piece.
Any final thoughts here on Tottenham's January transfer window, guys? You guys want to go ahead and close out any topic points?
We're good. I mean, good.
I think it's the first. This is going to be the first sign of Andre's team. We're going to see how, like, these are his first boys he's going to truly bring in. When the things are going tough, the results, he's finally starting to see how results are going in the league. So I think this is going to be a really a good test to see how the manager really is at Tottenham, and how these guys like changed the outlook of their season.
Well said. I want to go ahead and move on to a topic we mentioned at the beginning here, and this is the U.S. men's national team player Kate Cowell making the jump abroad. USMNT abroad. Kate Cowell from San Jose Earthquakes, MLS side, to City Guadalajara Chivas in Liga MX. This is a tweet here from our friend at Area Sports Network, Fabian. Official, Kate Cowell has been transferred to the Liga MX side Chivas. Paperwork has been signed, and Kate has his first workout with his new team. I just want to go ahead and say real quick shout out to Five here. He's been following San Jose Earthquake for quite some time here. He's literally on the front lines of this whole transfer saga, so giving us updates exactly how the fans are loving this move. But I just want to go ahead and talk exactly what this means for other U.S. men's national team players making jumps abroad. Is this a good move for the player moving to Liga MX? How is it possible for him to go ahead and make the Liga MX move? But first off, this is another player making the jump abroad, specifically a dual national, moving and playing in Liga MX. He joins another countryman, Alejandro Zendejas, who plays for Club America. Both players eligible to play in Liga MX, based on their birth and family heritage specific rules. But guys, being the young player that he is, linked with City outside Bologna over the summer, is this a good move making the jump abroad to Liga MX? Is it still a good move right now for young players in MLS making that move to Liga MX?
I mean, personally, when I look at Kate Cowell's ability, I think it's a really solid move. I think he's going to be kind of a Jordan Morris type. When he's going to go to Europe, he's going to struggle a little bit when it comes to that environment. But when it comes to making a jump from San Jose to Chivas, that's a really big move on a personal level. You're going from MLS 1.0, one of the biggest clubs, but you're going to one of the biggest clubs in all of North America when you go to Chivas. And so I think it's a big step. It's going to be a big step. He's going to be paid a lot more. I think he's going to be playing in front of a lot more fans. So I think just on a personal level, it's a huge step for him. And personally, I still have Liga MX a touch ahead of the MLS. It's slowing down without Pro Rel, but just right now, I think he's still in a competitive league, playing on a really big team.
You're muted.
Nick just mentioned that Liga MX is just a tad above MLS. Yvonne, I want to hear your thoughts on that comment. Agree or disagree? And then your move for Cade to Liga MX side Chivas, is that a good move?
As it returns to Cade, I it remains to see if it's a good move, but I think it's a great move for Chivas. Chivas was in need of good attackers. There's rumors that Chicharito might come back to Chivas. They just got rid of Alexis Vega, who was the reference, and he's now at his former club, Toluca. Um, Chivas is going to need a lot of. They came from a lot of renovation. They have a new coach with Fernando Gago, an international Argentine player. Um, I think with the background that Kate Cowell has, he's American. It's going to be interesting how he adapts to Chivas and the history that Chivas has when it comes to foreign players, because there's not a lot of them. Uh, he's barely the second or third player that has joined from a foreign country. Um, I think Liga MX benefits from more people like him wanting to go there and go into Europe if that's his goal. Obviously, should be his goal. But I think, as Nick mentioned, I think the reason why I put Liga MX first is because they have more projection to Europe. People go to Mexico and look at Mexican players, or look at players in Liga MX and go to Europe faster than they go to MLS. So I think I agree with Nick in that assessment.
Does this move to Chivas put Kid Cowell? Does he push him for a starting position on the U.S. men's national team first team, just like Sendejas, or is this still a solid Gold Cup roster player?
I think he's a Gold Cup roster player. I think he was already on that fringe with how competitive the U.S. men's national team is already getting with all the players over in Europe. Kate's not even one of the best players in the domestic league MLS currently. It'd be an interesting question for the other lads though, like Brandon Vasquez, who's also moved over to Liga MX this transfer window to Monterrey. So you're definitely starting to see at least both countries starting to use each other's talents, and I think you might see like more dual nats to the national team, in my opinion, from this, like both leagues corresponding together.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I just saw the other day a tweet from, I think, the Mexican national team, but the youth. They have 7 players that are joining their national team this window coming from MLS alone. So they are in MLS Academy. So it's interesting to see you bring up this point. The next few years, we're going to really go ahead and see exactly all these dual nat kids who have the possibility to play for both Mexico or the United States, who are coming up the ranks through these MLS academies, these Liga MX academies, have that decision. And it's going to go ahead and be interesting in the next World Cup, even the next 2 or 3 World Cups, just the war between the two countries and pulling some of these players playing for them. So I think this is the start of something where we see more of these dual nat kids making the jump to playing in the, I guess, rival leagues. I'm sure we'll go ahead and see a lot of young Mexican players, like I mentioned, those 7 who play in MLS, make the jump and play for MLS teams who will go ahead and get the call up to play for the Mexican national team. But that will go ahead and wrap it up here, I think, for Cade and the players who went ahead and made the jump abroad. In terms of just some of the domestic moves or some of the other U.S. men's national team players that we didn't mention last time is Miles Robinson making the move from Atlanta United to FC Cincinnati, and he'll be joining Matt Miazga in the back, and also Ian Murphy, who just recently got a call up to Camp Cupcake for the January roster. So they're looking to go ahead and play 3 in the back. I spoke with a friend of mine, Kenta, who also is with Area Sports Network. He covers FC Cincinnati, and I just asked him, I said, so with Miles coming in, with Ian and Matt, is this going to go ahead and be a 3 in the back, or exactly who's going to go ahead and be the rotational player? But no, looks like FC Cincinnati is looking to play 3 in the back next season. And this move by Miles, chasing the bag, not pushing for Europe at his age, I'm going to go ahead and say I think this is a good move for him in his career. I think he made the right choice, just going ahead and chase out that max deal and chase the bag. He still knows that he has a position on the men's national team, given the depth and injuries that could go ahead and come abroad. But, fellas, I want to go ahead and hear your thoughts on this move here. Was it the right move to go ahead and, in better terms, chase the bag here, stick in MLS, and play for a very good team? FC Cincinnati is a very good team in the East.
It's a great team, and he's obviously securing more wealth for his family later on in his life. But it's just to think that he has a national team spot just because he plays in MLS and there's depth, I disagree. He had a pretty poor season with Atlanta last year, full of mistakes. Um, and I'm personally, I'm kind of tired of American players with this kind of scared timidness of going over to Europe, not being able to hack it, not trying it out even. And so I get it from a financial aspect, you're going to get paid more in MLS. But if he truly wants that World Cup spot, he needed to put himself in a more competitive environment. Only putting himself on the best team in MLS is not doing that for him. Um, and I just think out of his comfort zone is the only way he's going to grow as a player because maybe we've already seen the best of Miles Robinson pre ACL. And I just don't. I think it's a good move for his family, but it's just for the national team. I just do not agree.
Nick, what is your center back depth right now for your national team?
Um, I'll probably go. I mean, he'll still probably be in it, but I'm definitely if I'm had to start him right now, I'm gonna go Tim Ream, and I'm gonna go Chris Richards. Two players outperforming both Walker Zimmerman and Miles Robinson. And then we can go to them. We could still look at Cameron Carter Vickers. He just reminds me of those other two MLS players in terms of ability. But no, I think we're going to see a lot of strong center backs before 2026 come into the fold. Younger ones.
Other U.S. men's national team players making the move this time from Europe, coming back to the States. Looks like the Colorado Rapids picked up Manchester City goalkeeper Zach Steffen for 3 years with an option for a fourth. Not a DP deal. He's not a designated player. Then they went ahead and picked up Jordi Mihailovic from AZ Alkmaar for a club record deal. He will be a DP. It looks like they went ahead and bought down Andreas Maxu last year from his DP deal. He's no longer a DP. And then Sam Vines coming from Royal Antwerp back to Colorado Rapids. He left the Colorado Rapids following that 2021 season and joined Champions League side Royal Antwerp. He wasn't on the Champions League roster this season. Some conspiracy drama behind that he was left off the roster there. Maybe his performance. His contract was up in the summer, so for them to go ahead and get a sale off in January, a good move from Royal Antwerp. And then they were able to go ahead and extend Cole Bassett to another 4 years. So that's an exciting deal for them. And it looks like there are rumors going around right now that Kellen Acosta might come back to play for the Colorado Rapids. So looks like President Porter Smith and Chris Armas in 2024, they're getting the band back together, piling up on all these distressed assets, we'll call them. But it's exciting. I think Zach Steffen still has a lot to go ahead and prove in MLS and show for both club and country. I think he's not off. I don't think his time with the U.S. men's national team is done. I think if we have goalkeepers that are coming from MLS, that he could still be a top contender if he's performing really well. I not necessarily think he's one of the best keepers already in the league. The league right now has at St. Louis City, Roman Berkey. LAFC has Hugo Lloris. Inter Miami, Trey Callender's not too bad, and a handful of other goalkeepers. So it's going to go ahead and take a lot of work, especially if we want to go ahead and come back and play alongside players like Matt Turner, who's at Nottingham Forest. Not the greatest spell right now. Ethan Horvath. Well, let's get the call up here. Drake Callender's gotten the call up here. So I just want to go ahead and say I'm pretty excited for the Zach Steffen move to Colorado Rapids. I want to go ahead and open it up to you guys. If you guys have been keeping up with the Colorado Rapids this offseason, the hype, your thoughts behind it.
Yeah, I still think Steffen's in the fray for U.S. men's national team goalkeeper when you look at Matt Turner's form. We're not very deep at goalkeeper, which is historically not a U.S. men's national team thing. We're usually at least have not world class keeper, but class keeper throughout generations. So I think right now we're at a little bit of a low with Matt Turner and Steffen. Respectfully, Matt Turner's playing in the Premier League, but if we're looking at his performances right now, it's not the greatest for Forest. They just got docked 10 points, so he might even go down to the championship soon. So just Matt, I think Steffen's just trying to secure playing time again, find his confidence again, help rebuild a a pretty lousy team currently in the Colorado Rapids. I was pretty harsh on players not hacking out in Europe. There are cases. Mihailovic said he had personal issues and he had to come back to the United States to be close to family. I totally get stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I think the Rapids can be very excited. They haven't had a good team since 2021 Thanksgiving playoffs. So it's definitely going to be, it might have even been 2022. I can't remember what year. But yeah, I think Rapids fans should definitely be excited. These are good ex-U.S. men's national team players. One still might be in the mix. And if you add Kellen Acosta back and you got Cole Bassett, you got Sam Vines back, you got pretty much the Gold Cup team at the Rapids.
That's what I was thinking. You could feel the Colorado Rapids for the Gold Cup. Giving those 5 players just alone, Zach Steffen, Sam Vines, Jordy Mihailovic, Cole Bassett, Kellen Acosta, if 5 U.S. men's national team player, you could essentially feel the Colorado Rapids.
Is there
Keegan
still Jonathan
Rosenberg.
Lewis?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But Adam, just out of curiosity here, will we see you at a Rapids game in 2024?
I hope so, especially with Zach Steffen. I think that's a great signing for the Rapids, especially if you're fighting for playing time over in the Prem and not being able to get some of the results you want. This will be a good spot for him to be in, be able to get some confidence. And so I think it'll be fun.
So
That's on the
Rapids in.
Colorado
All right.
Rapids boosting with some U.S. men's national team players. Do you want to see some L3 players on the Rapids?
Why not? Sure.
Ivan, excuse me. Sorry, that was for Ivan.
Uh,
What are your thoughts on the Rapids stacking it with so many U.S. men's national
you know,
team?
I when I came to Colorado, I've seen a lot of potential good players that have Colorado Rapids has been blessed with good goalkeepers. Um, I saw my first Rapids game, and Tim Howard was the goal, and then William Jabro. William Jabro was a legend with Leon in Liga MX, winning two championships in a row. Um, and now with Zach Steffen, I think he's a quality goalkeeper, even though he has not had the best of luck. And yeah, I mean, when it comes, I want to touch on the topic of young players that Nick was touching a little bit earlier. When it comes to young players, we're seeing the same problem in Mexico. We're seeing the same problem with promising players like Marcelo Flores, who was in the academy in Arsenal, and now he's at Tigres, and other players like Tecatito Corona, who's not as young. He's in his 30s, but he came back to Monterrey, and it's just a question of why. What is it? Money, or is it just lack of mentality? So that's
Mm.
that's the question that lingers in my mind. But yeah, I think the Colorado Rapids were dire need to reinforce the squad. I think having those caliber of players is going to be very interesting to see, and I'm eager to go to a game at some point.
2 going in. You should be the Rapids ticket salesman.
Certainly would love to see it.
Nick, I doubt we'll see you at a Rapids game. We might see you at a Hailstorm versus Rapids game.
For sure. I mean, we said that last year, and I got the home opener scarf still somewhere here.
I think, honestly, guys, that will go ahead and wrap it up with all the U.S. men's national team players or American players here making some moves that we'll go ahead and talk about. Let's go ahead and jump back here in some of the more abroad players. First and foremost, let's talk about maybe a move that's surprised a lot of people around the football community. This is your best friend coming in clutch move, is what we're going to call it. Eric Dyer to Bayern Munich. Guys, what the heck? Is this a move to appease friend Harry Kane, or are those comments just jokes?
I think Bayern need an enforcer in center mid, and I think they want an enforcer and a creative player per se. But Eric Dyer, just based on his performances for Tottenham as of late, it just seems like something to make Harry Kane less homesick, in my opinion. Bringing a friend over who's not the worst player, but if we're talking about Bayern quality, they should probably just fork up the money for Joao Palhinha at Fulham. I think he's But I think they went with the cheaper option for Dyer this January instead of going back to Fulham ever since that summer thing. And I'm not big on this one, to be honest. I'm not big on. I can't picture Dyer ever playing for them.
It's only a 4 million euro move to Bayern Munich, and Dyer only made his first appearance for Spurs this season in that 4-1 loss versus Chelsea in November. So he wasn't even part of the plans at all to go ahead and be included this season for Spurs. But with all those red cards and injuries that happened that match, he had to be thrown in. Um, Let me go ahead and read you guys what Thomas Tuchel said about this move here, real quick. He plans to have Dyer come in and be a good alternative for the squad, being a specialist at center back with the abilities to slide up in midfield. Here's the exact quote, okay? The quote is, he's a good alternative to the squad. Eric has become a specialist at center back. He can play either center back position in a back three, and he often used to play in the midfield. So, given
I mean, good for
given
him though.
that
He's
with
going to
the
Bayern Munich from Tottenham. He's probably got just like Harry Kane, the best chance to win a trophy now
yeah,
on a personal level. And Bayern, it's almost financially a zero sum to add him. When you're like you said, it's only 4 million. That's not even. When you're talking about today's global market, like that's nothing.
spare change, another big move, guys. Sergio Reguilon to Brentford. This is another loan move. A player um, had to spend at Tottenham and Man United, but this is a loan from Man United to Brentford here. What do we think about that move to get him more playing time?
I think it's a great move. I think out of all these moves, I think it's the best move. I think it's something that's going to benefit Brentford a lot. It's going to benefit Reguilon a lot too. I mean, he's a player that can go deep. He's a player that can go one attack in the transition attack defense. He can play in a lot of in either a 5 formation or 4 formation. Uh, I think, yeah, just the big name is going to attract more people to go to Brentford games even too. Uh, yeah, I think just all around good move. I want to go back to the Dyer part though. He's not going to
Okay.
play much, according to what I hear from Tuchel. He's not going to play much. He understands his role. He's getting on in age. He's 30 years old, and you have players Kim Min Jae, you have Matix Elite, you have Upamecano, you have players that are on the rise in football. And then you in the midfield, who do you have? You have Musiala, you have Kimmich, and you have Goretzka. Are you really gonna dispose of Dyer? He's gonna play in cup games. He's not gonna play much, and he understands that well. I think, yeah, I think it's just gonna be for appeasing Harry Kane.
Agreed. With Sergio Reguilon, I think we're still waiting to see where he fits best when it comes to what league and what club. He's been kind of moving around quite a bit the recent years. I know Manchester United fans enjoyed his services while he was there for such a short time, but that loan was called short.
Mm-hmm.
He moved on to Brentford. He seems really excited online on his personal profile, Sergio Reguilon. So I think it's just overall a good move for Brentford. A strong player that has experience with the top 6 clubs.
Yep.
And not sure if he's going to sell any jerseys. No, I'm not sure if defenders really have that type of effect on football kits. But he's definitely he might bring some more people in the seats, to see a potential star defender on their team. Someone that can grow. Brentford's in a good position in the league as well. So it's almost he can do nothing. He can do nothing wrong until the summer, in my opinion. He can just grow.
Let's look at the other two here up on the screen. Thiago Diallo to Juventus and Renan Lodi making the move to Al Hilal. Two different spectrums in both age and where they're going to play in the competitiveness and their ambitions for footy. Let's talk about first the Juventus pickup here. No scouting report for me. What are your thoughts on that move, guys?
I think Juve is doing really good right now in the transfer department. I think you're starting to see the emergence of tons of young talent mixed in with their veterans. You're seeing the points start to return to them in Serie A. You're starting to see the performance levels increase again. Yeah, I like this move. I like that he's a young player, and I like that they're adding more youth to their team, strong youth as well. And they're kind of moving on from their older players. They're not switching tactics, but they seem youth. There seems to be youth running through the squad, and they seem to be rejuvenized at the moment.
I think Lille enjoyed his services, and I think he's going to do really well at Juventus. I think he's a very good player. Uh, Whenever I've seen him in the national team or at Lille in Champions League, um, yeah, I think a player of his caliber, being 23 years old, being Portuguese, having the capabilities that he has, I think that the Serie A is going to benefit from someone like him, and especially Juve. So, and when it comes to Renan Lodi, again, it's just the Arab money takeover, and it's really, really painful to see. I mean, all due respect to the Saudi league, but it's just a player of his talent going to Al Hilal is just a waste of talent, in my opinion.
Looks like the
Mm.
agenda for players moving to Saudi Arabia still continues as a waste of talent. It's another move, another player making the
I, I think I think a little bit we should hold off on that just a little bit. I think there's still such rawness and excitement toward the Saudi league, but I'm starting to see that it is gonna crash and burn like the Chinese league did. Um, you can just see that there's already players 6 months into their contract wanting to leave the Saudi league. It's not just one, it's not just two, it's probably not. It's not just three. It's been multiple more than that. You've already seen Nuno Espirito Santo leave as a coach. You already see Jota want to leave as a player from Al Ittihad. You see Karim Benzema, a Ballon d'Or winner, not even want to spend 6 months in the Saudi league. You see Jordan Henderson, at coming in there, pretending like it wasn't all for money, and then he's like, "Wow, my wife hasn't adjusted to the culture of being in Saudi Arabia, has been adjusted to the climate of being in Saudi Arabia." It's like, bro, you had Google anytime, you could have looked it up. Let's just admit you went for the money. It would have been more of a reasonable answer. Now that you're seeing these players want to skedaddle in six, it's going to be based on personal um, it's going to be based on personal stuff now. It's not going to be, oh, this is actually going to be a competitive league. It's going to be like a Renan Lodi now. It's like, hey, I'm starting to fall off as a player. Maybe I should go cash out right now. It's just going to be kind of like the MLS is right now, picking up retirement players, players that are on the way out. But I already see the excitement in the Saudi league start to die.
Couldn't have said it
Nick,
better.
you just went up. You ate there. You mentioned players wanting to go ahead and leave. Jordan Henderson making the move to Ajax here. Give us the deets there on that. Former Liverpool skipper, miles better than Steven Gerrard. Go ahead and give us the details there.
Yeah, Fabrizio just announced, I think like an hour ago, that Jordan Henderson just completed his medical to move to Ajax. Um, I think he comes back to Europe with his reputation tarnished when it comes to his LGBT support, when it comes to just going to Saudi, when it comes to just the blatant lies about why he went there. Um, it's great that Ajax is going to give him that second chance, but I think he's coming back with damaged reputation.
I agree with Nick. I think Henderson benefits more from this move than Ajax benefits more from this move.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, he needed that move. Obviously, he wasn't getting on in um, Saudi, um, and also, I mean, Ajax needed someone in their depth of midfielders because they were not doing very good. Um, I think a player of the leadership caliber of Henderson is going to benefit them, but again, Henderson is getting the better end of the deal here.
Mhm. Another player who's um, escaping Saudi Arabia here is Karim Benzema. Where will he end up? Where do
I
we
think he's
think
going to
he's
come
going
to the Premier League.
to
Hmm.
Premier League? I'm
I think
thinking
it's going to be
MLS.
in London too. I think he's coming to
London.
London.
Chelsea?
I think it's
Oh,
going to be red or blue. I think he's going to do a 6 month loan and then spend one season next year and retire somewhere else. But I think he's going to end the season 6 months somewhere in the Prem.
Why
Chelsea,
doesn't he make the
Arsenal.
move to MLS?
Why doesn't he? Because search up Benzema 15.
Well, guys, that will practically go ahead and wrap it up on all the transfers, unless there are some that we missed here that you guys want to go ahead and chat. Any ones that went under the radar?
One last thought. I think Man United could benefit from a move like him. I mean, Rasmus Højlund is not cutting it, but I think it's time that we need to play with two in two players in the striking position. So I think Benzema, welcome, come to Old Trafford, please.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Man
think
United back to the 4-4-2 system.
Yes.
absolutely. I think you got Hoyland scoring 2 and 2 now in the Prem, but yeah, he still needs to. He's still a young kid. A Benzema for a 6 monther would also be very beneficial for him to learn under.
I mean, right now Manchester United, I think, are sitting in 7th in the Premier League. Would a player like Benzema coming in there even put him in a Champions League spot?
Adam, do you
You
think
need
Benzema would crush the Prem?
at this point you need Harry Potter to do some magic and make him do well. But it doesn't hurt, right? We'll see.
Adam, do we think Karim Benzema can cook in the Premier League right now?
Would absolutely cook. I mean, he's getting old, but I mean, he's still one of the best finishers in the game. So I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be fun to see him play in the top four in the Prem somewhere.
I think you would see him like when Ibra came to the Prem at such an old age. You'd probably see like the goals, the quality performances. You may not see United win any trophies. I mean, I think they won Europa League and maybe FA Cup actually, but like not the big ones. But you might see some fun and exciting ball for a little bit, or it could end up, a little bit like Cavani. Some spurts of excitement, some spurts of just, this guy's getting old.
Exactly. Well, another player, striker of his generation, on the move to Inter Miami, joining his butt buddy Lionel Messi, is Luis Suarez. One less Ballon d'Or than Karim Benzema, but making the move to Inter Miami. How exciting is that for the league? Are they just going to win MLS, guys?
Oh gosh, no, absolutely not. I think they need a
Fun, you
whole
found that funny.
I think they need a whole rehaul of overhaul. That's a word. Overhaul of players to do well in the MLS. I think not even with Messi in his old age, not even with Suarissimo and being the pistolero that he is, the capo cannonieri that he is. Uh, I think it's gonna go. It's gonna do well for Messi, but we're gonna see some goals. We're gonna see a lot of people going to the stadiums and people and Ticketmaster charged a lot of tickets for them. But will they do well? I don't know.
I think they smash it out of the park. I think all Miami have to do is finish in a playoff spot and they'll win it all. I think the moment you put them in 2 legs, or however the MLS wants to do it, three, best of three, and you get them to go to Miami when it comes to a knockout round, when it actually matters, and you're going up against Alba, Busquets, Suarez, and Messi all at the same time, you're just not going to beat them, even if you are FC Cincinnati. We saw it when Messi was healthy in the Leagues Cup and U.S. Open Cup, that semifinal against Cincinnati. We saw it right before he got injured in MLS. That Miami team was lights. They were better than everybody, every single team they played. When all those people were healthy, health is going to be the big risk. But when you add such a player like Luis Suarez, you keep Leonardo Campagna, you get rid of Josef Martinez. You're already adding so many goals that are going to win them points. And I'm telling you, they're going to rest them up when it comes to that MLS playoffs. And that team's going to be, the moment they get in the playoff spot, and because there's playoffs, they've never experienced something like that before, you're going to see a fire team in the MLS. And I think they're going to come out guns blazing.
I'm going to agree a little bit with you there on Nick. I don't think they're going to go ahead and absolutely smash it just because some of the other teams in the Eastern Conference are still pretty good and the season's pretty long. But you put them in that playoff spot, and I think that's where it locks in for Inter Miami. I think you're right there. Just like the U.S. Open Cup and the Leagues Cup, those are competitions that they just have to take it a game at a time. And if you have to go ahead and go into Miami and play all of those players healthy, then it's going to go ahead and be a problem. They play really good football, and they'll go ahead and get the win. I don't think they're going to go ahead and absolutely smash it where we see in the Eastern Conference or the MLS Supporter Shield, where they're just so far ahead with everybody in points. I don't even think they're going to go ahead and top the Eastern Conference right now. I'm going to go ahead and give benefit of the doubt to a couple other teams. But again, just like Nick said, you put them in a playoff spot, and they're crushing it. They're winning the whole thing. given they stay healthy here. Um, those jerseys with the Miami Dolphin collaboration thing, ass.
Bro,
Absolute
that is
ass.
the Miami FC right there, and it pisses me off because that's like a USL team's home kit right there. You're using.
I
uh,
saw a fake edit that was like half pink, half the black blue. That was like the Heat kind of version. Miami. It was such a nice blend that, and I'm gonna have to go ahead and share with you guys later. It was so much better, miles better than that greenish orange Miami. Ugh.
but we're also not looking at who else Miami have got besides just Luisito. We got Julian Gressel, 2-time MLS Cup winner, has a lot of experience. Um, they just signed a Mexican center back from. He was. I can't remember what Liga MX club he was on, but he was on loan to Olympiacos. You could probably help me out with that, Ivan. But they just
I'll look
signed
him
him
up.
over. So I think they got rid of a lot of their dead weights, and they have a really strong MLS caliber lineup. MLS obviously lacks in depth most of the time, so you mostly have to look at a starting 11 and a couple bench players. But yeah, I think they're right up there. You obviously have to look at the younger talents in the Phillies and the Cincy's and the Columbus and that East. That East is strong.
Yeah, that East is pretty strong. Shall we go ahead and talk about? Go ahead,
Last
Leon.
thoughts, though. Last
Go
thoughts.
ahead.
I think
I'll put you on the big
if they
screen.
wanna go ahead and get farther into the MLS, they have to get rid of the biggest fraud of football. Full offense, Tata Martino. He's gotta hit the hay. Bye bye. Adios. I'll say that. I'll say that right now.
Very unbiased from you.
What do you think,
Yeah.
Adam? MLS, Miami.
I think they're going to be good this year. I mean, it's basically just an old Barca team, which is kind of fun to watch. But even in their old age, I think they got enough experience. They're gonna be a fun, dangerous team to watch this year.
I mean, you also have to put this in perspective, Rico. When was the last time Messi, Alba, Busquets, Suarez, they had 4 months of break? They hopped into the Leagues Cup without a preseason, without being integrated with the team beforehand, besides a week or two of training during middle of a season. And so you're going to see the most rest these players have ever had in their career. And I think you're just going to see magic.
Well, I will tell you that last time that Luis Suarez took a long break from footy was at the beginning of the 14-15 season.
That's a
So-
good one. Good job. Good job.
And he scored
It'll be
25. He scored 25 that year.
Can Luis Suarez do it on a snowy night in Colorado? Also, by the way, the only way that Messi and the gang come to play in Colorado, the only way would be freaking Leagues Cup somehow, man.
MLS Cup final, Open Cup, Leagues Cup. You still got those.
The MLS Cup final would be insane if the Rapids are the number one team and they make it all the way to the final and we get to host Inter Miami. Do you guys even think that game will be at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, or will they just
No. Gotta move
Absolutely
it.
not.
Should we move over to these leagues?
It'll be so funny, just theoretically, yeah. Before we move over to a new subject, just you look at what is it, Empower Stadium. You look at the top most packed events that they've ever had, and it's top three. It's like Rapids versus Inter Miami, Taylor Swift, and then the Broncos. Like, but yeah, let's go ahead and before we
Also-
go ahead and no,
it's
also. We have to move on. Before we go ahead and move on to some of the more juicy stuff, like the Jose Mourinho stacking, we'll go ahead and dive into that. We'll take a look at some of the Premier League discussions. Just wanted to go ahead and play one quick game with the fellas here. You know the rules. Adam, this is the first time you're playing. I'll go ahead and explain the rules. It's pretty easy. It's guess the footballer, World Footy Edition. There's going to be 5 pages, 5 hints you'll get. And in those each round you will get one guess. So theoretically, you could get it on your first guess
I-
somehow.
Okay, but this didn't happen in the last video. I got it like second round when you said 4 World Cups. I said Beasley, and then you made me still guess like 2 other names after. So this time,
That's true. That one, but you called me out because I was trying to keep Ivan in the game. If this time the player is guessed, I will go ahead and give the winner flowers, and we could still go ahead and go through the. We could still go ahead and go through the rest of the hints, fellas. Are we ready?
Ready.
sir.
I've made the hints more specific, a little bit more helpful than just he's still playing. Okay. First hint.
Good.
He is an active forward who has bagged 9 goals, 3 assists in 1,149 minutes played this season. That's 18
Dusan
matches.
Vlahovic. Is that right?
There's no way.
It's every way, fellas. It's right there. Those are the hints. I should have just kept it. He's still playing today. What gave it away, Nick? The 9 goals, 3 assists?
He scored 2 yesterday. So I just guessed.
Fair enough. It was Dusan Vlahovic. He's 23 years old, plays in Italy, plays for Juve. He's Serbian.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Guys,
boys.
that was I don't have another game. That was the only one. Nick absolutely fucking ruined it for us.
Thank you,
That was
Nick.
just a guess.
Thank you,
That was
Nick.
That was
That was a
probably
straight up
the-
guess.
At least
Because
on the
my
right
rematch.
side, it'll make the editing a lot easier. It won't have to go ahead and be here's a 10-minute clip. Here's a 10-second clip of Nick saying Dusan Vlahovic.
Dude, the comment section will say cap, but it's real.
We didn't cheat, guys. Guys, did you see me anyway? Like this was no different than last time, Ivan.
Right.
He just got it first try.
Oh, next time.
Oh man, I should buy a lottery ticket.
Well, guys, I guess we can go ahead and jump into the next hot topic here. Let's go ahead and talk about legendary coach Jose Mourinho sacked by Roma, 2-time UEFA Champions League winner. The club just announced his sacking. We actually, given we live in Colorado, all of us, we woke up to that news. But he led Roma to the Europa League final last in his first season. I'm butchering this. He led Roma to the Europa League final last season where they lost to Sevilla following controversial calls made by Anthony Taylor. But he also led Roma to the European Conference League campaign and won it all. Roma have only won 1 out of their last 5 Serie A matches, and they fell down to 9th place with 29 points. Both 2 previous seasons that Mourinho was in charge of Roma, they finished 6th, but they had good Continental Cup runs. Guys, how do we feel about this move? Was it the right move to sack Jose Mourinho?
I feel like they did it kind of disrespectfully considering the stature of Jose Mourinho, but
Sure.
is his time in Europe over?
No.
You guys think?
Hashtag USA.
No, let's hypothetically, let's realistically look at Jose Mourinho leading the U.S. men's national team in 2026. What scenario would even see Jose Mourinho in charge of the U.S. men's national team? Because Ivan, you're not the first person who's brought up. Let's just joke around. Mourinho for USA. Hashtag Mourinho for USA. Right now, the Federation spent a lot of time and resources getting a third-party agency to go ahead and look for the appropriate candidate to have as the men's national team coach, and they landed back on Greg Berhalter. If they keep Greg through this Copa America and the United States just is poor this year, I think you then have an argument to say, yeah, okay, we went through this process. We looked at our options. There wasn't really anything on the table. And we really thought going back to our ex was the right move. No, now that he's on the table, Jose Mourinho, we can go ahead and make that jump to have him as our head coach. I think that's the only logical scenario if that were to ever happen. If Greg Berhalter just has the absolute worst 2024 year, and then the U.S. men's national team uses 2025 and the beginning of 26 to prep with Jose Mourinho for the World Cup. But other than that, it's unrealistic. I think it's way too unrealistic. And I don't even know if he would look at the project of the U.S. men's national team and be, per se, like, I don't know, appealed just to go ahead and look at the complexity of having MLS players being on the national team, where to go ahead and find the youth players, how youth soccer is run in this country, promotion, relegation. I think there's just so many factors that being the traditional that he is in the soccer heritage, the football heritage, he looks at the US, looks at the system and goes, no, no way. Agree or disagree, guys?
Yes, but like, here's the thing: you get him after Copa America, but then what? He's not gonna have games. He's gonna have maybe Nations League, and then maybe Gold Cup, and then that's it. Maybe a few friendlies. But do you think that's gonna entice him to have a project where he's gonna have to look for players that he can develop? He's gonna have to look for competition before the World Cup, and he's going to need play the infrastructure to develop these players. He's going to need time with these players. He's going to need people to back him up. He's going to, and if you get him before, after the Copa America, I think Copa America is the perfect. It will be the perfect scenario to have him show what he can do with the national team. He has, at this point, he has enough time. I say, respectfully, Greg, you had your time, but we need someone that has proven experience in world football. Maybe not in the national team.
Let's look at this realistically. Does the U.S. Soccer Federation want to open up another front now that they're fighting MLS on the U.S. Open Cup matter? Just go back and say, listen, we made a mistake in hiring you. You were more just like a placeholder. We needed that extra time. We needed a coach right now to fill in the happy fans. Is it realistic for the Federation to go, I'm sorry, we're going to have to let you go. This guy just became available. We're going all in on Mourinho.
I think it's only realistic if he fails at the Copa America, and he fails pretty spectacularly, because I think the Federation is dead set on having him pick whatever MLS guys he wants. He's still making the European players like Timothy Weah, Pulisic
Gio
happy, Gio Reyna.
Never mind. I didn't know you were going to say happy.
Reyna, lots left to be said with Gio Reyna and Greg. Still, obviously, you have to keep Gio Reyna in the lineup. He's too talented to keep out, which was Greg's first problem. But no, I think he just has to fail at the Copa America. The only way it would be open, and I just don't think Jose Mourinho would be interested in the U.S. I think he's interested in the development of the U.S. for the future when it comes to having talent. But I think he not in coaching it. I think if he wanted to go into the national team, he'd probably look for Portugal first. Places he'd find more comfort, because he's not a guy that builds things up. He's kind of a guy that he wins. He comes in and he wins. He's not there to rebuild your team. He's there to win. So I don't see him even getting into international football for I could see him another European club for him, but I'd almost see him coach an MLS team before he coach the U.S. men's national team.
Adam, what would Jose Mourinho in charge of the U.S. men's national team look like for you?
I think it'd be fun having him come over here, but like Nick said, he's probably not looking for anything to do with, coaching over here in the U.S. right now. It would be cool to just see how he could help the development of the U.S. men's national team, but who knows where he's going to land.
I want to go ahead and just give a quick quote here from Roma club owners, Dan and Ryan Friedkin. They said, well, we will always have great memories of his tenure at Roma, but we believe that an immediate change is in the best interest of the club.
Wow. Pretty vague. Pretty. Yeah, I think. How bad
Is
is
this
the
is this
season?
common for Jose Mourinho to be constantly disrespected at the time of his sacking? I mean, I look at Man United and Tottenham towards the end of his spells there when he was getting close to the sack, when the rumors were really heating up in the media. You would see players kind of giving up that passion, that fight, that desire to play for him. Was it really just kind of his personality thing, or was it a tactical things weren't working out? The players? Was it a factor of all of those? Is it all on Mourinho as to why he gets himself sacked? I mean, let's look back at when he took over for Roma real quick. When he first got to that project, he was going to go ahead and build them to something great, be a top contender for Champions League. Have they been in Champions League since he's taken over? No, they finished sixth both season. Now they're sitting ninth before he got sacked. Yes, Europa League final. Yes, Europa Conference League win. But if you're looking at 3 years, you're in your third season, and we're still building that project. Roma fans are not satisfied, and I get that from that perspective. If you're looking at Milan, if you're looking at Inter, Juventus, they're still in the top three, top four. Now we have other teams like Bologna, Atalanta, Fiorentina, who have done their restructure. They have their young players coming in, and they're competing for top four. And Roma are not. Roma are falling down, just like Napoli are. So, was it really too harsh to sack Jose Mourinho? I think I'm going to agree with you, Nick, in the way they do it. Very disrespectful for a coach of his tenure, of his stature. And I think it just boils down. It starts with the players in those last 5 games where they just stop that passion, that desire to play for his tactics.
I think football's changing. I think players are a little more prima donnas these days. They want to be
Sure.
like the center of
Agree.
attention. They have a little more going on in their lives when it comes to big social media followings. A lot more money than any other professional football players have ever had in their lifetimes. Um, like I was just saying earlier, though, Mourinho doesn't really like build teams. He comes in, he tactically switches things up. He wins immediately. By season 3, he gets sacked by season 4. This is not new with Jose Mourinho. Like I said, I think AS Roma handled it poorly. Just like from Colorado, like the Broncos handled the Russell Wilson stuff poorly. Just the same situation for me. But no, this isn't nothing new for Mourinho. He doesn't. To me, he doesn't. I don't think he has the patience to build. He wants immediate success and wants players to immediately follow his tactics.
I mean, when you're an owner of a team, you know what you get with Mourinho. You know the type of caliber of coaching that he has.
Mhm.
You know his tactics. You know his temperament. You know the type of players that he likes to play with. You know how he deals with the media, how he deals
Exactly.
with the
Was gonna say that.
fans, and you treat him like that. I mean, yeah, Roma is a big team, but Mourinho is also a big team in football, and it just speaks badly of Roma. And I think while I agree, football is changing. His tactics may be a little bit outdated, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to change his style of playing because he's Mourinho. He is a proven. He's the chosen one. No, what is
The
it?
special
Yeah,
one.
the special
The
one.
special one.
Not the chosen
Wouldn't
one.
be too surprised, guys, if he were to go ahead and make a move in the Premier League for some of the teams that need a manager to close out the rest of the season. Like, for example, it'd be a stretch to say Chelsea, but Newcastle with Eddie Howe, I don't think he will go ahead and finish out the season. So to have Mourinho come in end the season wouldn't be a bad move. He's still European caliber. Agree or disagree?
I think he's still European calendar. I have issues with commitment issues with him. I think because of how he has been treated within football the last few years, with that shameful Europa League and Anthony Taylor, and then how Roma just kicked him to the curb after just a tiny stretch of bad form. Yes, they're in ninth, but Serie A is really competitive, and it only fell apart these last few weeks for him. And yeah, he's still got it. At some aspects, maybe not. He's not going to be your Champions League winning manager anymore. He's not going to be your Premier League winning manager anymore. But he's going to absolutely 80% of coaches out there beat them when it comes to tactics, head to head in a game.
I like to compare.
Let's go ahead and wrap it up here on Jose
Sorry.
Mourinho. Okay, sorry. I don't want to. I don't. No. I don't want to cut you off 2 times in one video. Go ahead, Ivan.
I like to compare Marcelo Bielsa with Mourinho. Those are Marcelo Bielsa doesn't have the title, but he has the style, and Mourinho has both. Mourinho has the style, and Mourinho has the titles. Uh, he may not he may not win you the Champions League. He may not win you the Premier League, but he's gonna change the way that your team is gonna move forward with another coach, with more will of playing football, with more love for the game, with more
I think more
order,
ambition.
more ambition, more order tactically, and maybe bring you some better players. And that's the effect of Mourinho, and that's the effect of Bielsa as well. I think both of them are very equal in terms of coaching style.
Tactically stubborn, but such great statures of managers.
I think that will go ahead and wrap it up for our Jose Mourinho discussion here, guys. A lot of great insight, and we are his bodyguards. It sounded like, we stood up for him when Roma kicked him to the curb. But that's great. We're gonna go ahead and dive into looking at the Premier League table first out of the top 5 leagues, and we're just gonna go ahead and have a discussion, a reaction to halfway through the season, the remainder of the season, maybe our prediction on who we think is gonna win the Premier League relegation. Just a little bit of discussion, guys. So while I go ahead and pull it up, I just want to point out here, Nick, we have mentioned the Denver Broncos 2 times. This will make it 3, which is more times in one video than all of our videos combined. You don't want to talk about that stuff. All right. Let me go ahead and pull up the Premier League table. What you're seeing right now is, as of given from FootMob from today, with Liverpool at the top of the Premier League, Man City, Aston Villa, Arsenal, all in the Champions League spot. Tottenham Hotspur just outside there in the Europa League. And then you see West Ham, Man United, Brighton, Chelsea, Newcastle finishing the top 10. And at the bottom there, Sheffield United, Burnley, Luton Town, with Everton just escaping the relegation zone. But guys, initial thoughts on the Premier League?
I mean, this table is going to be soonly outdated when those point deductions come in for Everton and Forest. So, I mean, before we talk about the bottom, though, the top is as competitive as the Premier League has been in the recent years. Usually, City's pulling away by the halfway point in the year, so it's good to see. It's good to see my boys Liverpool on top, but it's also good to see a great manager, Unai Emery, bringing out the old Aston Villa, the Aston Villa that used to win European titles back in the '80s, bringing some flair back to their team. They're playing at home is almost a fortress to them, so it's great to see them back. Tottenham's playing good football. I forgot to mention them in a previous video for my Premier League predictions. I meant to put them in my top 6. I threw in West Ham, but I missed out on Tottenham. But such a great team. I think Chelsea's finding form at the right time. If you look at their little badge right there, 4 wins out of their last 5 matches. Brighton's starting to fall off. West Ham's looking much stronger than regular years, but something's got to break for West Ham to finally get out of that 7th position to start kind of cracking that top 6. Because I've seen West Ham play this good of football before and end up at the same spot in the table. So, very interesting at the top. Newcastle obviously falling off with the amount of money they have. That's the biggest shock for me.
Well, Nick, I want to mention Liverpool real quick, leading at the beginning of 2024. I had a feeling that they were going to go ahead and be strong this year. Just to pick up the great pickups that they had in midfield really add stability to Klopp's system and the way that he wants to go ahead and play in both picking up McAllister and Endo. But players like Mohamed Salah always excelling. But 2 shout-out players, I think, just for me personally, that have stood out for Liverpool and are some of the reasons why they're up there. Darwin Núñez and Trent Alexander-Arnold just stepping up and showing and shining and providing for the team. I'm sure you can go ahead and agree. Feels nice being at the top of the Premier League. Probably not something that we expected at the beginning of the year when we went ahead and made those predictions. I remember I had them finishing second, but seeing them at the top of the Premier League, that's nice, I'd say. And you bring up Aston Villa. Really, for me, it surprised me how high they are up at the table, but they play really good football under Unai Emery, just as you mentioned here. Ollie Watkins leading the team with 9 goals, Leon Bailey and Douglas Luiz just behind with 6 goals. They're one of the highest scoring teams in the Premier League, as you can see, and they're very strong at home.
Absolutely.
But Yeah, we'll go ahead and see exactly what the Premier League table will go ahead and look like after Everton and Nottingham Forest get their point deducted. It's a shame because Everton really found their feet and were able to go ahead and escape the relegation zone just before Christmas, which I thought was a feat of its own. Just escaping relegation would have been a challenge, but doing it before the year was over, kind of surprising. I really thought uh, that, but as more allegations will go ahead and come out, they'll go ahead and most likely drop into the relegation zone and
I
stay
mean,
there.
to me, these future point deductions are death sentences for this season for these two clubs. I don't see Everton and Forest bouncing back in the second half of the season because they're both going to drop to the bottom two. Those two
Yeah.
clubs will shoot up. Luton Town and Burnley will be free for now. It's just a shame, just because we all know the big elephant in the room. That is the team that's in second place with their 115 pending charges. I get that it takes a little bit longer to get through that many charges, and these charges are way more complex than the ones Everton and Nottingham Forest have gone through. But if you're just looking at, yes, Everton and Forest broke rules and they should be punished, but the fact that you see clubs that like Chelsea, Klopp mentioned it the other day. There's three clubs in the world. You can decide on who they are, but they don't get punished. They can do whatever they want financially, and it is a shame that we do not see these clubs get punished. I'm gonna guess which three clubs he was talking about. I'm gonna guess Manchester City. I'm gonna guess Chelsea and PSG. Just for my three clubs, but it's just a shame that some of these clubs can get away with bending the rules to their own, and while Everton and Forest have to they're spending this amount of money to compete with these nation state clubs, and it's just a shame that the way they have to go about it gets them punished. While obviously City are bending rules, and they might get a slap on the wrist. They still haven't been punished, so right now they're still second in the league, and it could be shameful if they end up winning the league, knowing they have these pending charges to a club like Arsenal, Villa, and Liverpool. Muted.
My bad. I just wanted to go ahead and hear from Adam here, his thoughts on um, Everton, Nottingham Forest getting their point deduction here, and Man City having theirs being pended.
No, it definitely seems a bit unfair, especially when you have Man City, who pretty much have dominated the Prem for the last 5 or 6 seasons. Um, I mean, even right now, just being a Liverpool fan, I definitely would like to see them take a little bit of a punishment, but um, I don't know. We'll just have to see.
As a Liverpool supporter, I mean, are you? I know I'm sure you're excited to see Liverpool at the top of the Premier League, but is that something that was under your predictions? Did you see them being that strong that come Christmas, come the new year, that'd be leading the Premier League? Does that
Yeah,
give
I
you
mean,
that?
definitely after a couple good signings, like you said, with Endo and McAllister, they have a much stronger midfield than they have had in the past. Um, but I mean, there's still a lot of games left, and City, they're going to be pushing Liverpool to win pretty much every single match that we have coming up. So
I mean, Rico, you knew I had doubts about coming into the season, and I'm still have those doubts currently sitting at first place when you have Trent Alexander-Arnold out for 3 weeks. You have Simicast that broke his collarbone. You've had Robertson out for months. Salah and Endo are going off to their international competitions.
AFCON
It's just
and Asia Cup.
I think this is the moment in the leagues that I'm always concerned about every single year. It's the turn of the new year when the season really starts to get hot. When you are a club like Liverpool that is competing for every trophy, um, I'm still concerned about the depth signings. Endo's been great, Gravenberg's been great, Soberslai, McAllister. Um, but we're still waiting for finished products for some of those players. We're seeing glimpses of great play. Same with our Bar Sala, our front four. You see Diaz, Gakpo, Nunez, and Jota all have glimpses of being world class talents, but we're still waiting on finished products. So I
Mhm.
still am a little skeptical on Liverpool being able to get it done because I have seen us. We're only 2 points. City's only 2 points off us. I've seen that gap been closed before. Seen the story been written. So I'm a little skeptical about still our depth signings. And is it enough? Because we are, as you see, you got Gomez playing left back. You got people playing out of position. to make up for these injuries still, which was my main concern going at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's interesting that it seems like Liverpool's one of those teams that's always affected by AFCON and the Asian Cup when it comes around that January time, especially when you had when you had players like Minamito, Salah, Mane, Naby Keita, Matip, who just all had to leave. You had to play up top with, I mean, you had Origi, Lalana, Milner. That's who you're employing up top in these difficult times in the knockout stages of Champions League and in the beginning of January there. So I give you some props, but I'm not going to go ahead and give you a lot of empathy for the injuries though, because it's very common throughout every team, and it's a bummer. And it's how is everyone going to go ahead and apply it? The market's there; it's open right now. Is Liverpool going to go ahead and go in, get somebody to go ahead and add to that depth?
No.
Are you going to go ahead and pick up another Turkish young center back?
We're gonna pick up 0 players this January.
Aaron Long
0
at Liverpool.
Oh, you remember those clowns, dude?
That's what I said. You're gonna pick. You're
Oh
gonna pick
my
up another
gosh.
young Turkish center back,
No.
a Lithuanian
No.
center back giant.
Come
Or
on,
was he
Thursday.
Estonian? I think he was Estonian.
Which ones? We had Kabak, Turkish. We had
Klavan.
Klavan.
Klavan. Where is he
Yeah,
from? Estonia?
Estonia, yeah.
Estonia. Nat Phillips.
Reece
Who's
Williams.
Reese Williams was with the Afro, yeah? With the
Yeah.
curly hair? Yes.
Yeah, we were finished that season. Sympathy. You're not gonna give us sympathy when we had to employ. Those were our center backs, bro. No one had a season like
They weren't
that.
even championship level. Sorry, we just got sidetracked here on that discussion. Guys, predictions for the Premier League. Who's winning the Premier League for you guys? For me, it's Liverpool.
I think it's going. I think the main factor for me, and based on last weekend, it's going to boil down to one guy, Kevin De Bruyne, and what he does with Man City. I mean, you had Man City playing okay in the last 70 minutes, and then you bring him in. He scores an assist and a goal. He scores a goal and gets a huge assist. I think that what he can do and what the caliber of player that he has, would you have Rodri there, and you have who should have been the best, as opposed to Lionel Messi yesterday, Erling Haaland in there, uh, who's a goal scoring machine, is going to be very tough to compete against. But Liverpool has Mo Salah, they have Soboslai, they still have depth, they still have a good team, and I'm sure they're gonna do well. But I think it's gonna boil down to Kevin De Bruyne and what he can do.
So, do you think Man City's going to win it?
I think it's going to be neck and neck, but
I need
I
a
think-
team, bro.
I think Liverpool. I think Liverpool is going to hold on.
Liverpool. It's
Liv-
gonna be. It is gonna be a close one. Don't worry. I had a pretty close one as well between Liverpool City and Nottingham Forest, but Liverpool for me. Nick.
Nottingham Forest. Oh, Liverpool, of course. Always got to go. Always got to go with the boys.
Adam.
Liverpool.
Man United.
No.
Liverpool. So we all thinking. Nick, are you somewhat like? Are you just a little bit? Is there a little part of you inside of you that's just like dancing at the fact that Everton are just being hammered?
No, because I feel like they a lot of unfair things have really happened to him. I feel like they had something going with Carlo Ancelotti, and he completely abandoned them, left them in the dust. I think that was a shameful move from Carlo and James Rodriguez. And I just feel bad. I honestly genuinely feel bad because the league's better with Everton in it, not with him out. And then just seeing them get punished while you know Chelsea have cheated, and while you know City have cheated, it just kind of makes me feel. It doesn't make me feel bad. I like happy. It makes me feel like they're being cheated.
Well, I'll go ahead and move us on here to La Liga now. I'll go ahead and show the table. Pretty shocking La Liga table, at least at the top here, maybe even at the bottom. Girona at the top, with 49 points. Real Madrid just behind him, 48. Athletic Club, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Real Sociedad. Those are just the European spots. And at the bottom, we have Almeria, Granada, Cadiz. Surprisingly, flirting with relegation is Sevilla, where Sergio Ramos is at. Guys, just a look at the La Liga table. For me, Girona have surprised me this season, and the fact that are competing for the La Liga title, I think it's really good for world football. Just having someone new up there, it's exciting, um, especially in a league like La Liga where we see the same teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, really competing year after year for the top. This shakes things up, and
Yeah.
I mean, even Real Sociedad, just their style of football that's in Champions League. We went ahead and discussed it last time. They are underdogs going into the competition, someone that we're keeping a tabs on. This La Liga, this La Liga, just like the Premier League, it's competitive at the top,
Hmm.
given the fact that Real Madrid and Girona are kind of running away with it. But looking at the other team, Real Sociedad, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, and Athletic Club, that's exciting right there, the top four race.
I think I want to start with the bottom before we talk about Hirona. I think it's interesting. I mean, I think the bottom three teams you can see them in the relegation zone, but if you look at the three teams right above them, and I think they're playing. I think they're playing with fire and getting relegated to La Liga 2. When you're looking at a Sevilla, Celta Vigo, and Villarreal, those are really good. Those are really good, long-standing Spanish clubs. And the fact that you do have Sevilla, Celta Vigo, Villarreal playing around with relegation is a good sign for the health of La Liga, in my opinion. That these other clubs are starting to produce good squads, like Rayo Vallecano. Not this year, but in the last recent years, they've been creeping up to above 10th place. You see Real Betis be really strong. Yes, they're not in a European position. That's good. That means Real. That means the top six really strong right now. Um, Now going back to the top, actually. It just shows how good owners in football get you so far. The fact that City Football Group can produce this many good clubs playing such good stylistic football. I have no shock that they were able to get quality players to Hirona because they're interconnected with New York City FC, Melbourne City, Manchester City FC. There's a whole worldwide connection with City Football Group, and they just absolutely nail it out of the park when it comes to recruitment, development, all over their clubs. And so there's no shock to me to see Hirona starting to stick up with the big boys because now they're competing with almost the Manchester City of their own league. Starting out very young, very talented, and look where they're already at. They're already shooting for first. I think this is not going to be the last time we see Hirona in one of these top spots.
Given Barcelona right now not looking good uh, and dominant against top teams under Xavi. Yes, they're in the top four for La Liga. They had some pretty good form. They right now I think three out of their last five they won, one draw, one loss. But against the big teams like Real Madrid in the Super Cup final there, they just did not look strong. They're tactically inferior to some of the stronger sides. I don't know if they need to go ahead and change their style. When I listen to a lot of the Real Madrid, excuse me, when I listen to a lot of the Barcelona fans on Spaces, I joined some of the Spaces that Barca fans have. They're more extreme. They're more extreme in the sense that they want to go ahead and get rid of Xavi, that they deserve a big coach, that this is not the one for the project. But Barcelona is a team, just like every other team, plagued with injuries. They still have a lot of quality players that can go ahead and deliver. Something's just not clicking for them. Do we see them being competitive in a sense that they can still go ahead and challenge for that title, or is this a race for top four now? Do we even see them being getting past Napoli in the Champions League, guys?
Um, I think they'll definitely challenge first. Um, I, Depending on, I mean, I think Real Madrid is probably going to walk away with La Liga this year. Eventually, I think
Yeah,
Girona's going to put up a good fight, and I don't know if Barca will be able to jump them, but I think they'll finish third, a few points off of Girona. It's just about players finding form this year. If you're looking at Barcelona last year, they looked really good in La Liga.
hmm
Lewandowski was scoring tons of goals on his way to a Pichichi. Other players were starting to click. It's just I think there's just something going on with that Barcelona. It might be going on also at Manchester United, where maybe these players cannot live up to this monumental pressure
Yeah.
of having to win. And Barcelona is under way more pressure than Manchester United because they're financially collapsing. They're selling their naming rights. They're selling all their rights to everything to try to pick up all these players to get them registered to perform to win because they need the prize money. They need the Champions League money. They need the La Liga winning money. And the fact that they're struggling to even do this while also selling their soul is very concerning to see for Barcelona in the future.
It's very surprising that you have them at least finishing third. I don't have them finishing second or third in my predictions for the rest of the season. I think I have both Girona and Atletico Madrid finishing above them.
When it
I'm
comes to
skeptical on Atletico Madrid a little bit as well.
For me, I'm going to agree with you, though. Real Madrid wins La Liga this year.
Barcelona, in my opinion, I think 10 years ago you had players that you were producing. At this point, where you have no money and the players that you have are not producing goals, they're not producing stats. I beg the question: where is La Masia? Where is that talent that you used to have 10 years ago? Where is that new Messi? Where is the new Thiago Alcantara? Where is the new Pedro? Where is that new Iniesta? Are they not producing anymore at La Masia? That's the question that I ask. And there's talks of Xavi being replaced by Rafael Marquez, who's coaching in Barcelona B. And they're still not gonna get a top tier coach. They don't have the money for it. And that's the difference between Girona and Barcelona. What do you do with the lack of money? And what do you do with the money that you have, but you don't know how to spend it and then you messed up, right? And so that's props to Girona, and I want to see them succeed. Um, I hope that they hold on, and it will be a beautiful story again, like the Leicester story that we love in football.
Absolutely. Adam?
I think Real Madrid will take it for the rest of the year. I mean, I know there's still a lot of games left, but Barca, like you said, if we can get some players in form, they might be able to stay there in the top four. I think we'll see them in Champions League regardless. I'd like to see like Real Sociedad or some of those other clubs make it to Champions League again, but we'll just have to see.
Is Xavi a coach that you want to see stay at Barcelona, Adam?
I think he's one of the better coaches that's out there, and it's not to say that like Barcelona isn't the best performing in the La Liga this year, but I don't know. I mean, you're still competing for Champions League, and that's not something to sack a coach over yet. So
No, it totally makes sense. And you want to see the good story of Xavi, the former prodigal son of La Masia, the four-time Champions League winner, the World Cup winner for Spain. You want to see him succeed at Barcelona. And right now, football has a big issue. Maybe it's always been like this, and I'm just not old enough to know. But right now, some teams want immediate success, and then some teams can't. Like, they can't wait to build the project. Like, they're sacking managers too early when they need time to develop their talent, time to win over the fan base, time to even give these tactics to these kids. And right now, you're seeing situations where are United debating on sacking Eric Ten Hag if they keep falling in form? Are you looking at Eddie Howe? Do you give these guys more time? I think Xavi needs more time, because he's if you're looking in the last 15 years, he doesn't have Messi like these other managers have had. He is working with something the club. I'm gonna be real. This has always been Barcelona pre Messi. Then nothing has changed. They were always European losers. No offense to them, but they always choked in Europe. They were just good in La Liga. They were winning La Liga. They only had one Champions League title before Messi came. All right, that's one. After that, now they have five. And now look at them again. They barely made the addition, or they didn't even make the addition 2 years in a row, and they're still struggling today. I think we put Barcelona a little bit too high of a pedestal, because to me this is always where they've been. This is always how Barcelona has been.
Oh, wow. I want to hear Yvonne, Adam. Who do you guys think is going to win La Liga? Just the team name.
I would like to see Girona win. I know that Madrid is probably going to win it, let's be honest, because they have the best team in the world right now. But I gotta give props to Girona, and I'm one of those talkers of I like good stories in football, and this is a beautiful story. Girona being on one of the most competitive leagues in the world, with the best team in the world, in history probably, Real Madrid in the league. I think it'll be just outstanding to see. So I'm gonna say Girona.
Madrid.
Adam?
I will say Real Madrid for sure.
Madrid.
Well, I'll go ahead and move us on here. Next of their top 5 leagues. Let's take a look here at the Bundesliga with probably arguably one of the best teams in the world at the top of the Bundesliga. Right now is Bayern Leverkusen, coached by Xabi Alonso, Real Madrid Liverpool legend. Bayern Munich second, VfB Stuttgart, RB Leipzig, where Timo Werner just left. Borussia Dortmund in fifth, and Eintracht Frankfurt in sixth position. But we look there at the relegation zone. Who's in that playoff spot is Mainz, and then we have FC Köln and SB. I'm gonna try my best, guys.
Darmstadt.
Darmstadt.
Something like that. This is I'm
This
gonna,
is an interesting Bundesliga table, yeah.
yeah, I was
I
gonna say
mean-
this has probably been one of the most fun leagues to keep up with this year, in my opinion.
Do we agree or disagree here, guys? Bayern Leverkusen, top 3 teams in the world right now.
Disagree.
I think they play Madrid, Liverpool, City. They lose.
I mean, but you have the other side of the coin, right? You have Xavi, who is a midfielder, who was a legend at his club, do poorly with Barcelona, but then you have someone that you have someone that with that has a good ethic, does not give excuses. He just goes off and coaches and cares about the team, cares about the players. You see him be involved with the players. You see him be involved with the fans. You see him be involved with the media, and that's Xavi Alonso. And it's a whole opposite of Xavi, who's not succeeding. And I gotta give props to Xavi Alonso. That's all his success, and Florian Wirtz, who's doing really good. And yeah, I think they earned it. They earned where they are, and I hope to see them succeed soon.
They have a good team, and I honestly think they have the team the manager, the right moment, the right amount of league games per season in their season to honestly finally eclipse Bayern to that title. And it will be sad to me for watch Harry Kane go to a team like Bayern, seeking out his first ever trophy, and still missing out on a team that's won it like 11 years in a row. I think that would be kind of hilarious / sad. The biggest things that I find interesting in this table is the bottom of the table. You see 2 really historic clubs, in Mainz and Köln, hanging around relegation. Köln's currently relegated. Mainz would have to go through a playoff, and it's just kind of sad to see Union Berlin down there. They were one of those storied clubs from the last season that came up from Bundesliga 2. Their fans helped build their stadium up to Bundesliga 1, to the Champions League itself after finishing, I think, what they get second or fourth maybe that year, behind Bayern. So it's just a shame to see them fall so low again. And I don't want to see them back in the Bundesliga too after they've had such brief and short success in the Bundesliga. It would just be cool to keep them up.
Any final thoughts, guys, on the Bundesliga? Our predictions?
I like to see that Stuttgart is up there. Can you put it? Can you plug it back? Second place. Yeah, third place. Because they were struggling last few seasons. I mean, they had historical players for Bundesliga. Mario Gomez. You had Jens Lehmann back in the day. Pavel Pardo, Ricardo Osorio. Good players that were symbolic for Bundesliga. And it's nice to see them back into good form.
Absolutely. That top 5 that top 6 is very competitive this year.
think we're not going to go ahead and see a new Bundesliga champion this year, guys. I think Bayern Munich will once again be crowned Bundesliga champions.
That's your. I'm gonna go Leverkusen. Take it by more than 4 points.
Leverkusen too.
Adam?
Yeah, I'll go with Leverkusen as well. I think, Harry Kane winning a title at Bayern, it isn't even that meaningful anyways. So
No, I mean that totally makes sense to me. And I just like I said, I hope I see those 3 clubs I mentioned on the bottom. I hope they somehow escape.
Nick, for you, do we want Gio Reyna to leave Borussia Dortmund? He's got
Absolutely,
to. He needs
absolutely.
more playing time.
I don't think the coach. I don't think the coach rates him, even though he pretty much saved his job last season
Mhm.
by scoring every freaking goal in at a time. Um, I've been looking at the teams mentioned, and I just don't know if they're the best moves when it comes to development still. But Reina has to be playing on the field, so any move out of Dortmund is a good move as long as he's going to play and it's still a quality team because he's just not playing there. And Dortmund truly aren't playing their young talent.
Guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the best league in the world now.
The
Liga
GOAT,
MX?
baby.
Who doesn't know? It's not MLS, guys. Stop it. Sicko. Stop it. This is Serie A with at the top of the table Inter, led by Simone Inzaghi, Juventus, AC Milan. Then this is where the fun begins. Fiorentina, Atalanta, Lazio, Bologna, Napoli, Roma, and Torino all take up the first half of the Serie A table. And in the relegation battle, we have Salernitana, Empoli, and Hellas Verona, with Cagliari, those racist bastards, just above them, and then Udinese, who've had such an awful beginning to the season, somehow managing to escape the relegation zone. They're at the bottom down there as well. But this is another year, another exciting Serie A top 4 race. I feel like in the last 5 years, Serie A has been who can get that 4th spot. I think just we've not had a champion become a reigning like 2-time back to back in Serie A. It's been Inter, Juve, Milan, all and Napoli, all different winners in the last 5 to 6 years. So an exciting race again, seeing Inter at the top. I just want to go ahead and say I definitely think that Inter will go ahead and win the Scudetto this year. They are way too strong, and they just play such beautiful football and attacking style of system through Simone Inzaghi's mastermind. So what he has them under, they look really good. And I think, again, they are a team that is overlooked in the Champions League, which will go ahead and have a pretty good run given that all of their players are healthy. But Juventus with Allegri, they are, I think, outperforming themselves right now, given that they can only focus on the league. But seeing them in second place, uh, they're doing something really good. Some of the key standout players like Weston McKennie just being absolutely fantastic players for them this season. It's really nice to see just another U.S. men's national team player, a player that was on the brink of leaving Juventus, who wasn't part of Allegri's plan, was told he wasn't part of his plans, but an injury happened over the summer, and then Weston McKennie was brought to the U.S. tour. They thought, we have the opening. He's American. We need that. Blah blah blah. All of that woke stuff, and they brought him to the U.S. tour, and then now he's one of their standout players, and another U.S. men's national team player that's standing out in Serie A this year, probably the best winger slash forward in Serie A right now, Christian Pulisic for AC Milan, absolutely killing it under Stefano Pioli's system, joined by countryman Yunus Musa, who's also finding his footing at AC Milan. It's really nice to go ahead and see these Americans just performing at the top clubs in Serie A and the clubs themselves. As much as I'd like to say I'd like to see Milan win Scudetto, I don't think this is the season that's happening. We are crashing out of competitions left and right. We'll be happy if we even make a deep run in the Europa League. But this is Inter's year. Shame We just talked about Roma, guys, with Mourinho, where they sit right now. So I'm not going to touch on that right now. But another team that should have shame in how they're defending the title is Napoli, having sacked Rudy Garcia, and now they're on. Um, name is I'm blanking on his name, but nothing has changed for Napoli. They look so bad. They should have just coughed up the money and paid Spalletti when they had the chance over the summer before he went over to coach the national team. But on the bright side, as I mentioned earlier, this sprouts for some of the more smaller teams to go ahead and shine and fight for that fourth place team. So it's really exciting to see teams like Fiorentina right now, led by Vincenzo Italiano, really compete for a Champions League spot again. Atalanta finding their feet with CDK now having 4 goals this season in Serie A. Lazio having start pretty poorly with Sarri at the beginning of the season and now turning things around. So it's nice to see Sarri leading Lazio up to 6th place again after they started horribly. And then Bologna, led by Thiago Motta, probably a team that not a lot of people thought were going to go ahead and be competing for a top 6 spot, but they flirted around 4th place for quite a while. They had that really good spell, that really good form that maybe a mid-table team would have here and took full advantage of it and got to 4th place, but now sitting 7th. So I think Serie A this year, out of the leagues we mentioned so far, being a little biased, is probably the most exciting.
Absolutely, I agree. I think it's similar to Bundesliga in excitement for me. I think if you actually break down the numbers, I think the Serie A winner is kind of clear here. I think, yes, Juve, like I mentioned earlier, having a great season. They're starting to bring on this young talent, starting to find form. But if you just look at that, 40 goals, was it 10 goals against, 30 goal difference? Like Inter defensively and offensively are just at a whole different level to all of Serie A. It does remind me of that season when they won the whole title all together with uh, Lukaku and Lautaro up top. Now you see the same beautiful connection with Thuram and Lautaro, just with fantastic players underneath them. So I think Inter wrapped this league up a month before the end.
Do you give them any props to make a deep run in the Champions League this year again? I mean, I'm not saying maybe a final, which was spectacular to go ahead and see on its own, but maybe a semifinal run again?
Yeah, sure. I think San Siro is still a strong location to come to, full of history. Inter's just got such a strong lineup, and I think finally getting to the final last year broke that little bit of a duck. You always saw that Inter had a talented squad within the last recent years, but they kind of couldn't get out of the Champions League group. And if they did, they were playing like a giant right out of the gates. Um, but this year, things are different. They look much strong. They remind me of Napoli a few years ago when they were in the Champions League and looked super hot. Rico, are you surprised by any of the relegation squads?
Sorry, guys, I had change of headphones.
I think for me, it's very sad to see Salernitana. A ver, they haven't earned anything. It's just
Salernitana at the bottom.
just because of
Why?
bias. Just because of bias,
Ochoa?
Ochoa being the goalkeeper. Do I think he's been very low, very poor ever since 2018. He's been on the downfall. But just as a Mexican, it's really sad to see. And also, I gotta give a shout out for Genoa having Johan Vasquez in their in as center back. That's about the highlight for me. I think you talk about process. We talk about Girona being consistent. Same thing here with Inzaghi and Inter. Um, when you have a system that works and when you have a consistency and when you have a process, you're gonna earn titles, and that's what Inzaghi is doing right now, and they have it well, um, a well-oiled machine in Serie A with Inter.
Have you guys seen the meme of the polar bear that's in Texas? And the caption's like, "What is Bud doing here?"
Yeah.
Like, where the polar bear is totally lost. I get that meme impression every time I think of Ochoa at Salernitana. what is Buddy doing here? Like, it doesn't make sense at his age and the club. I don't know.
I
But
mean, I mean, Ivan, no offense, but when has Ochoa in Europe never been like a relegation dweller?
No, you're right, but I think why do they bring him? Because they think they can. He right now he's the worst score. He's the most scored on goalkeeper in Europe, in all the leagues, in all 5 leagues. Um, but yeah, you have him for the good moments. You have him for the good saves. He hasn't had that moment in 4 years, 5 years. But he's still a quality player. He's still a quality goalkeeper. Is he the best goalkeeper right now? No, absolutely no. He's terrible. But that's what I
does he
guess.
I
start for
just
the
feel like that's
Mexican
just.
national team?
He shouldn't, but he still does.
I just
I,
think he's always been a great keeper. He just hasn't been. He's never landed just a top team in Europe
nope.
when it comes to club ball. He's always just been kind of hanging around that relegation zone. Maybe he enjoys having to save 20 times a game though. Maybe that's like his personal choice.
He was in talks to be in Milan back in 2008, AC Milan, but it never happened. It never panned out.
Mm.
It would have been nice. I'll go ahead and say that. Definitely would have been better than the Abbiati years. Um, Prediction, guys. Who is winning Serie A? Adam.
We'll go with Inter for sure.
Nick.
Inter.
Ivan.
Inter, no doubt in my mind.
No Juve. No Juve, guys.
Nope.
No Juve.
League
No
is
Dusan
wrapped.
Vlad.
Oh man.
No energy there. No Dusan energy. Got it. Double checking here. I want to just go ahead and say real quick before I move on to the next league. Look at this table. Empoli, Salernitana, for sure relegated in my book. But damn,
Yeah.
do I want Cagliari to be relegated? If you know, you know, man. If you
Mhm.
know how much Cagliari and Everton are the two teams that I pray every year for their relegation, and they somehow managed to escape. But this year, I really wanted Everton to be relegated, and then they got that point deduction. How do you think I felt when they escaped, man? And now they're getting another point deduction. Like, it's good for me. It's good. I want them out. So, but more Cagliari. Let's move on to our last um, top 5 league. We're looking at Uber Eats, Uber Eats. Marcus Dashford, League One table. This is the French league. Marcus Dashford. Let's not. Let's not. Why did we include this one? Well, let's look at the bottom. That's exactly
I
what we
think
want to
that's
go ahead and talk
exactly.
about. That's that's what we want to talk
Well,
about. We're
I
not here to talk about
I,
Gattuso and Marseille,
I think
but
it's interesting to see Brestois potentially in the Champions League spot though as well at
Yeah.
the top. You never
yeah,
really
it's
see them in the Ligue 1 running.
that totally definitely went unnoticed. But it's nice to look at the League One table and say, yeah, right now you got PSG and then you got some nice Brest, second and third.
Nice breast. Oh my god.
Monaco, fourth, Lille, Reims, Marseille. It's a nice League One top 7. I mean,
It's competitive besides the
yeah.
top. Almost. But I think like you said, we're mostly focused on the bottom.
Let's look at Fabio Grosso, World Cup winner, Lyon in 16th place, man.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
Absolutely.
I
I
mean,
think if you look at the rest of the clubs, they look like they belong. And then there's definitely one team that I've never seen, even in this position, ever in my lifetime in the Ligue 1. A team that has Lacazette, a team that has good players still around. It's just honestly shocking.
I'm going to say it, and I don't care. There is something cringy, at least in my eyes, when these 2006 coaches, 2006 World Cup winners are now coaches. It's not working, man. Like Gattuso with Milan, Marseille,
Pirlo.
Valencia, it wasn't working. Pirlo, Juventus, maybe he got the cut a little too early, but at Sampdoria, they're at the bottom of Serie B. Fabio Grosso at Lyon, Gilardino at Genoa. You had Inzaghi at Milan at one point. I'm not talking about Simone. You had the other Inzaghi. You had who else is looking to become a coach? Fabio Cannavaro was in China for a while. I mean, that 2006 group, great players, not
Yeah.
coaches.
It's hard to make the transition sometimes from player to coach. I feel like you always see like more oddball players become good coaches rather than like the best of the best players become the best of the best
Yeah,
coaches.
100%. This isn't just an Italy thing. I mean, let's look at England's, aka 2000s golden generation. Rooney fucking sucks. Lampard fucking sucks. Like, not
Gary
to be
Neville
rude.
got
Gary,
fired.
yeah, come on. I mean, like, Steven Gerrard is coaching in Saudi Arabia. Like, I'm not saying some of the, I'm not saying actually, English coaches are just period bad. If you look at the Premier League, I don't think any of the top 10 coaches are from England that are coaching the top 10 teams.
But if you look at them as players, they were never like top 10 players either, though.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think it's just that we got that rare occurrence, guys, and getting to watch Zinedine Zidane just being a baller on the field and a baller off the field.
A
I
little
mean,
bit of
but
a little bit of pep.
It's
you also had him at
his
Real
two
Madrid.
most his two most important, like his two most like significant moment as a player came when he headbutted, used his head, and then as a manager when he rubbed his head after that Bale bike.
Dude.
Or was,
But yeah, I think PSG Serie A winner or Ligue 1 winners.
Yeah, I'm right now coached by Luis Enrique. Luis Enrique, we know the type of coach that he is and the type of style that he plays. He was really a fantastic coach for Barcelona. And when he went ahead and took over the Spain national team, he didn't bring the glory days of Spain again, but he kind of got him out of that little bit of that Banter era, that post dominance era where you're just kind of sitting with some bad players. I mean, he made the most out of an attack consisting Asensio, Morata, and Danny Olmo. So now
Mhm.
you have up and coming kids that he went ahead and utilized as much as he can in Gavi and Pedri. Still brought in the experience in Busquets before Ramos and PK were retired from the national team. But now we knew we had expectations for Luis Enrique to be successful with PSG domestically. This is something that I think when he was hired at the beginning of the season, none of us looked at that and said PSG is going to struggle. Now, in the Champions League, they just managed to squeeze out of the group of death, and it'll be interesting to see exactly how well they do going forward in the Champions League stages. But it doesn't sound like we have them as a contender for making the semifinal, guys. Do we think they're a top four team? Yay or nay? No, Ivan says no. Adam, do we see PSG making the semifinals of the Champions League? Is this the year under Luis Enrique?
Dude, we'll have to see. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting matchups in this Champions League coming up. So
I mean, for me, it's all about the draw. Anybody can make the final, but if we're looking at like, are they one of the best four teams remaining in the Champions League? I think they have a good case to be number 4.
I mean, you look
I think
at.
that will go ahead and.
Sorry. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Nope, you go ahead. Go ahead. I was just going to go ahead and wrap up the League One, but if you had
Sorry.
any
You
final
look at the
thoughts on the League One.
you look at the debt they have. Only what do they have? Mbappe. That's it. I mean, Colomwani, yeah, he's okay. The other Korean player who I'm missing, he's okay too. But they have an Mbappe reliance, and once Mbappe is gone, if he's going to Madrid, what are they gonna have? Jack crap.
Well, you'll have a lot of money to go ahead and spend and bring in some more quality players. I don't think Luis Enrique is looking for that superstar. I think he can bring in quality players in each position and bring the best out of PSG. I think PSG, if Mbappe does leave, I think they should go ahead and look at closing the chapter of bringing that superstar that leads them. It didn't work with Neymar. It didn't bring them a Champions League. If it's not going to happen with Mbappe this season, just close the book. Don't go get the next wonder kid or the next superstar. Build a team around Luis Enrique's style. Bring some kind of style and imagery to Paris. Make PSG that powerhouse on the continental aspect because we know domestically they're going to go ahead and have a 10, 15-point lead by the time the season ends. So it really just does matter once the knockout stages of the Champions League begins. So
And
having that healthy, that depth team, and that style of football being implemented come late January, I think we see a really good, strong PSG side in the future.
I agree too. I think PSG, they need to look at it like how Manchester City look at it. They go football first. They're focused on just the development of their club. PSG, once they get Mbappe off their books, will probably be one of the best things for them. They'll have so much, their whole wage structure will be dramatically reduced. I think they've already been planning on this when they got Ousmane Dembele. They just uh, they just signed Gonzalo Ramos to a bigger deal. They have Kolo Muani. They have Kang In Lee. And I just think they're going to be able to build off of that Mbappe leaving their wages. I think they're going to be able to bring in quality players for a third of what they were paying Mbappe, which will be some of the best players in the world still. Maybe not like that superstar, but definitely quality players.
Guys, I think that will go ahead and honestly wrap it up with all of our chatter here regarding the top 5 leagues, from covering the Premier League, the Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A, League One. We gave our predictions and who we think is going to go ahead and top each of these leagues. We're going to go ahead and rewind the tape come May and see if we're spot on. We all were in agreement for Inter, it sounded like. The fellas rode Bayern Leverkusen train heavy. Not me. Bayern Munich, ride or die. The fellas all gave Real Madrid the benefit of the doubt, except for Ivan. Ivan said Girona is going to go ahead and win La Liga. He wants Leicester 2.0. Is he going to get it? We don't know. We'll see in May. We'll see. But guys, I think we had a pretty long ass discussion. I ain't going to lie. That was 2 hours. 2 hours, including the game that took 2 minutes that Nick Rosser cheated. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. But I want to go ahead and thank
So lucky, dude.
I want to go ahead and thank all of you guys for joining us here today. Special guest, as always, Adam, joining us here, giving us his insight here. Just want to go ahead and give a huge shout out to Adam. A lot of things are coming up here in quarter 1 for Linners Wosers on the business side. So right now we got him busy a little bit here on the videos, but we're going to go ahead and see some cool things come out pretty soon, and you'll know who is behind all of that helping us here, Adam. And as always, Nick busting out all of this fantastic news, whatever you name it, on all of the outlets. You can specifically check him out on the Halia outlet because Northern Colorado is in its off season. It's preseason time. It's cooking. We've got so many players. We just announced a wonder kid from Trinidad and Tobago that we are super excited for. We got so much NOCO content that we've been spitting out, from an interview with Executive Director Casey to a NOCO update. We got a roundtable coming up here in February. We just got so much going on here. And as always, joining us here, Ivan, new awesome headset, always bringing us the most fantastic insight and coolest stories here, some of the background facts that we probably didn't know about players. You can always go ahead and check out his work on X and some of the new articles that he'll be busting out this year. But fellas, thanks so much again for joining.